Today I want to dedicate an entire video to what might be the biggest bombshell Zenless Zone Zero has dropped on the gaming community recently. The game has officially arrived on Steam, and alongside that launch comes version 3.0 titled A Sleepwalker's Confession. Honestly, as someone who actively plays ZZZ, I see this as one of the most important milestones in the game's history so far. Not just because of the massive amount of new content being added, but because of what it represents for the future of the game and how HoYoverse is choosing to shape that future. For a long time, one of the biggest questions surrounding Zenless Zone Zero was how far HoYoverse planned to push it compared to their other flagship titles. Version 3.0 feels like a very clear answer. Between the Steam release, the new story chapter, new characters, new areas, and major system updates, this isn't just another routine patch. It feels more like the beginning of a new era for the game. First, let's talk about the biggest headline. Zenless Zone Zero is officially coming to Steam. That might sound like a simple platform expansion, but it's actually a very important move. ZZZ was already available on PlayStation 5, Xbox, mobile devices, and PC through its own launcher and the Epic Games Store. With Steam now added to the list, the game is available on virtually every major gaming platform. The best part is that full crossplay and cross-progression are supported. You can play on your phone during the day, then jump onto Steam at home and continue exactly where you left off. Everything stays synchronized across platforms. For a live service game like ZZZ, that convenience is huge. And with Steam's massive player base and visibility, I think this launch will introduce the game to a lot of new players who may never have tried it before. Next, let's talk about the heart of version 3.0, the new story chapter, A Sleepwalker's Confession. This chapter serves as the opening of Season 3 and immediately pushes the main narrative forward. This time, the mysterious ether energy within the proxies once again begins to spiral out of control. To address the situation, the mayor of New Eridu invites the proxies to a restricted and highly unusual region. What I like about this setup is that it doesn't just introduce a new area to explore. It directly connects to one of the biggest mysteries surrounding the protagonists themselves. If you're the type of player who enjoys ZZZ for its lore and world building, this looks like a chapter worth paying close attention to, because it's clearly laying the foundation for everything that follows in Season 3. Now let's move on to the part I know many of you have been waiting for. The two new S-Rank agents arriving in Phase 1, Velina and Ye Shunguang. Velina is arguably the biggest gameplay addition in version 3.0 because she introduces the first ever wind attribute in Zenless Zone Zero. That's a huge milestone for the game, as it expands the attribute system and opens the door to entirely new team compositions. Her kit revolves around the Anomaly system, specifically building wind anomaly on enemies and pushing them into a special state called Windswept. The really interesting part is what happens next. When Windswept interacts with another attribute anomaly already affecting the target, it triggers a new reaction called Vortex, dealing area damage based on that attribute to nearby enemies. What makes this design so smart is that Velina isn't built to operate alone. Instead, she seems designed to shine alongside other anomaly-focused characters, acting as an enabler that amplifies the effectiveness of the entire team. Rather than being just another damage dealer, she functions as a catalyst that helps unlock stronger reactions and larger damage windows. And perhaps most importantly, her long-term potential looks very promising. As more characters and attributes are introduced in future updates, Velina could continue gaining new synergies and team options, making her feel like an investment in the future of the game's evolving meta, rather than simply a character designed for the current patch. As for Ye Shunguang, she's returning as the featured Rerun S-Rank agent in Phase 1. As an attack-focused agent, she remains one of the strongest offensive characters in the game, and many players still consider her a top-tier option even after multiple updates. That's why I think this rerun is worth serious consideration, especially if you missed her original banner. Proven characters with a strong track record tend to hold their value much better than players expect. To support both featured agents, version 3.0 also introduces two signature S-Rank W engines, Joyo Door for anomaly characters like Velina, and Cloud Cleave Radiance for attack agents such as Ye Shunguang. From my experience, signature W engines often provide a noticeable power boost compared to generic alternatives. So if you're planning to invest heavily into either Velina or Ye Shunguang, it may be worth setting aside resources for their corresponding W engine as well, since the overall performance increase can be quite significant. Next, let's talk about what I believe is the biggest world-building addition in version 3.0, the new region known as Roscaelifer. Unlike the familiar districts of New Eridu, Roscaelifer is described as a restricted zone completely separated from the city's core areas. In simple terms, it's essentially a floating city, a true sky city. Visually, this gives ZZ a very different atmosphere from the urban streets players have grown accustomed to. The vast open skies and unique architecture create a completely fresh setting that immediately stands out from previous locations. What interests me even more, however, is the gameplay attached to it. While exploring Roscaelifer, proxies gain access to entirely new traversal and exploration abilities designed specifically for this region. These mechanics are tied directly to environmental puzzles and navigation challenges unique to the area. That means Roscaelifer isn't just another map for farming resources. It's a space built around discovery, movement, and problem solving, encouraging players to interact with the world in new ways. To me, that's a very positive sign. It shows that the developers are actively looking for ways to keep exploration fresh and engaging, rather than simply expanding the map size with more of the same content. Now let's move on to the gameplay additions, because version 3.0 isn't just about new story content and characters. It also introduces brand new game modes aimed at different types of players. The first is Bang Bang, the Genius and the Miracle Chip, a new gameplay mode described as a road to tomorrow woven from regret and hope. That description sounds incredibly dramatic, but that's very much in line with ZZZ's style. The game has always tried to blend gameplay with emotional storytelling, and this mode appears to continue that approach. What makes it particularly interesting is that it comes with its own gameplay systems and themed event content, rather than being just another temporary activity. If you're the kind of player who enjoys event stories and unique gameplay mechanics instead of simply farming rewards, this looks like one of the highlights of version 3.0. For players looking for a real challenge, I think Annihilation Simulacrum is where things get interesting. This is a new permanent endgame mode designed for veteran players who want to push their combat skills to the limit. Unlike many existing encounters, the focus here is on extremely difficult boss battles that demand much more than simply bringing the correct attribute. What stands out is that these bosses are not built around traditional elemental weaknesses or resistances. You can't just pick the obvious counter team and expect an easy victory. Instead, success depends on execution, team rotations, combat knowledge, and your ability to react under pressure. Personally, I really like this direction. It feels like a much fairer test of player skill because it rewards mastery of the combat system rather than simply checking whether you own the right character for a specific matchup. If you're the type of player who enjoys difficult boss fights and wants content that truly challenges your understanding of ZZ's combat mechanics, Annihilation Simulacrum could end up being one of the most important additions in version 3.0. Finally, let's briefly talk about the rewards available for players. To celebrate this major update, ZZZ is launching the Commemorative Gift event, giving players access to a variety of rewards and bonuses throughout the patch. In addition, official profile avatars featuring Velina, Norma, and Pyrois are also being made available, allowing players to customize their accounts with some of the newest faces in version 3.0. Compared to the massive story, character, and gameplay additions, these rewards might seem like a small detail, but I think they're a nice touch and a simple way for the developers to show appreciation for the community that has supported the game throughout its journey so far. Sometimes it's the little things that help make a major update feel like a celebration rather than just another patch. To wrap things up, in my personal opinion, version 3.0, A Sleepwalker's Confession, is one of the biggest milestones Zenless Zone Zero has reached so far. Not only does the Steam release allow the game to reach a much wider audience than ever before, but the sheer amount of new content is impressive. a brand new story arc that kicks off an entire season, 2 promising agents that introduce fresh team-building possibilities, a completely new region with a distinct visual identity, and 2 new game modes designed for both casual and hardcore players. If you've been wondering whether now is the right time to return to ZZZ, I honestly think this is one of the best opportunities to jump back in. There's more than enough new content here to keep you busy for quite a while. And if you're already a longtime proxy, I'm sure you're just as excited as I am to start exploring Roscaelifer. So what about you? Are you planning to pull for Velina and experiment with the brand new wind anomaly mechanics? Or are you saving all of your resources for Ye Shunguang? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel. It really helps motivate me to create even more in-depth ZZZ content in the future. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the next video.